Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. So, how much food do you have and why? Yeah, with everything that's going on in the world, between economic crisis and crime and God knows what, the other threat still lies out there, and we see Russia, Ukraine, we see China, Taiwan, we see Iran, Israel. You know, let's not forget about these things, and China sure as hell seems hell bent for leather on going to war and at least taking over Asia, all right, let alone trying to take over the United States. There was an interesting study that was just published out of Rutgers University about what would happen if nuclear weapons were used. Okay. Now, all those childhood stories of, oh, Russia has enough nuclear weapons to blow up the earth 500 times and the US can do it 600. Okay, nobody has enough to blow up the earth. All right. We're not going to turn into some new asteroid belt, in between Venus and Mars somewhere or something like that. That's not going to happen. All right. I think, what is it? We'd need to be 15,000 times as powerful as the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs or something like that, from what I was reading. And it was just crazy. But this research went in and discussed what the effects of a nuclear war would be. Now, I want to give you this to start, as in how many nuclear warheads each country has. And again, it depends on the size, how many megatons it is. There is no, well, gee, it'll take 100 to take out population or whatever it would be, because they're all different size, right? But as of now, Russia has 6,257 nuclear warheads. The United States has 5,550. China has 350, just so you know. Okay, and then the UK and France and North Korea and Pakistan and India and stuff like that have a smaller amount, but smaller amounts are still significant anyway. So let's say that, according to this study, you had a small nuclear war between India and Pakistan, all right? Just those two countries would lead to a 7% reduction in production of food across the world, all right? And again, remember, it's not just ground zero. It's the radiation. It's the nuclear winter. It's the, sorry, you can't see the sun, nuclear winter. 7% of the global food, there's 7% less the caloric intake would be able to be produced. That's India, Pakistan, right? They also came out and said the largest scenario, which is between the United States and Russia, global average caloric production decreased by 90% 3 to 4 years after the fighting. Now, are you at ground zero? Unless you live in DC, New York, Chicago, LA, Cheyenne Mountain, up in North Dakota, probably not, okay? But this isn't an absolute. A nuclear, an ICBM is not going to land in Manhattan, and that's the only thing that's going to take out. You're in Jersey, trust me, you're getting it. You're in Connecticut, you're getting it, okay? So this is something to think about. How much food? They're saying food production would be decreased by 90% for 3 to 4 years after the fighting. Depending on how close you are, too, how contaminated is the soil? I mean, you hear these stories that it'll be 10,000 years before the ground near Chernobyl is fit for human consumption again. I'm not saying, because apparently there's people that live there now, I mean, we're 30 years removed. But this is, excuse me, this is something to think about here with your food storage. Now, the bright side of things for some of you, the country that has the best chance of surviving something like this, or countries, I guess, are Australia and New Zealand. Okay, why? Because they're kind of out in the middle of the ocean by themselves, all right? And if they're not involved in this, if everything's going east and west, nothing's going south from China. That's a positive for y'all. The negative is, where do you think everybody from Asia is going to start trying to head to because they're hungry? Oh, Australia's got food. We're going there. And people will do desperate things. Hell, we see it here. The boat people coming from Cuba, they're going to go 90 miles across the Atlantic Ocean there on a pallet-made raft. They'll chance that just to get out of Cuba. What do you think somebody's going to do after a nuclear war and the potential to go somewhere where there's food? They'll do anything. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you had somebody that decided to try to swim it. Okay, but this is something that you need to think about. The blowing up of the world isn't going to happen. The 5,000 or 6,000 nuclear warheads is certainly overkill to destroy society, the human race. It won't destroy everything. Cockroaches will survive, okay? But, 11, 12,000 combined between the U.S. and Russia, that would destroy humanity. Not that all of them would ever be able to get launched. But even the 350 that China has, because remember, as soon as one goes off from the east, one's going off from the west, and then it's just multiples, okay? Even the fact that China has 350, I mean, that's enough to destroy humanity, or damn pretty close around the world. And certainly if China shot off 350 and the United States retaliated, because I'm sorry, the story can talk about U.S. Russia all the time. I'm still a firm believer that China is our number one enemy. Okay. Something to think about when you're putting your food away. If you're not going to be able to grow it, and again, grow it means also raise it, livestock, because what do your chickens eat? What do your cattle eat? They eat stuff that grows. If that ain't there, you don't have that either. So now you start looking more at your food storage. Got 2 years. This means food production is going to be decreased by 90% 3 to 4 years after the fighting. How much do I really need to have? Just some food for thought this morning. Pinball out.